what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about some pretty spicy Destruction Warlock sims playing your 4-piece tier set that have recently emerged from the Warlock Discord. Now, I know over the past week or so, give or take, APLs for Destro, Demo, and F have been getting updated, optimized, and things like that. And over the past 48 hours or so, there's been a lot of work on the Destro ones. Now, want to give a huge shout out to the Lock Discord, Azavara, everybody who's been working on all the Destro sims, and the Demo and F sims as well, because there's been a lot of work done to them, a lot of optimizations made to them, and some builds have emerged that are looking actually pretty spicy. I'm not saying Destruction is going to overtake Demonology, but there's been some serious value found in these actual builds. Now, this video should be pretty short. We're going to look at a few sims here, a little bit of combat stuff for the new build, which is pretty spicy. But if you see any weak auras or profiles or add-ons you want here, they're all indeed available to you guys for free on my Twitch. If you want to swing by, grab them, feel free to do so. I also want to give one brief update on the Warlock guides for patch 9.2 because there's been a lot of questions about those. So they should be coming out within the next 24 hours or so, give or take. They're probably going to come out in pretty quick succession just because, yeah, I'm a little behind on them. I got sick, and the person who's editing the videos also got sick basically on the same day. So my apologies for those being delayed. They should be coming out soon. They're pretty in-depth and pretty awesome from what I've seen. So hopefully you guys can wait a tiny bit longer on those. Once again, my apologies. With that being said, let's get into this, I guess, the builds and the sims. Alrighty, so right off the bat, these sims are spicy. There's some Cinders and Wilfred sims here, but there's Madness and Embers higher than this. So let me go into a bit of detail here. Number one, all of these sims are playing Reign of Chaos. This is with the tier 4 piece. This is basically BIS gearing, with like Mythic Jailer gear, 4-piece, Grimveiled Hood being Unity, so they've moved the Universal Covenant Legendary to the Helm for better stat optimization. The average eye level I think is like 283 or so with this build. This is like full optimization, Mythic Jailer gear, all of that. Once again, I believe this profile was built by Azavara, I believe, and the Warlock Discord. Once again, thank you for all of that work and help. So every single profile is playing Eradication. Every single profile is also playing Reign of Chaos. Now, Eradication has simmed higher than Flashover for a while now. It sims higher than it has previously in 9.2 due to the 4-piece, more shards, more Chaos Bolt cast, higher Eradication uptime. So it's an even larger gain than it has been in the past. Now, we also know that Cinders, once you obtain your 4-piece, loses a lot of value because Cinders is your Roaring Blaze legendary that you play together, right? There's synergy there, but Reign of Chaos with your 4-piece pulls ahead of every kind of Roaring Blaze build because Reign of Chaos with 4-piece is just that strong. The Infernals bring Reign of Chaos, not much else to it, right? So Cinders being here, Wilfred's being here at 15,300 essentially, and these are all playing Dark Soul instability. Madness pulling ahead of Wilfred's by essentially 30-ish DPS, and Embers of the Diabolic Raiment, which is the additional shard generation legendary, pulling ahead by what, about 250 DPS, right? Yeah, 252 ahead of Madness, about 300 ahead of Wilfred's, which is pretty impressive. Now, the general thought process and realistically the reason behind this is because both Embers and Madness mean more cast, more shards. Madness dumps Chaos Bolts faster, so 4-piece procs, there's synergy there. Embers is more cast, more shards, more 4-piece procs, and it's overall just a pretty synergistic build. Now, Wilfred's is not bad either. These are all playing Dark Soul, and Wilfred's does have the 2-minute syncing of Dark Soul with Infernal, roughly, with your Ruby, whatever you're playing. However, so the highest sim here being 15,582 DPS, but these are all playing Dark Soul. Then some sims were run playing Soul Conduit. Keep in mind here, Madness number 2, Embers number 1 at 15,600 basically. Well, the Soul Conduit sims are actually ahead of Dark Soul by a substantial amount, which theoretically makes some sense because like these are all 3-minute Infernal, 3-minute Infernal, and you know, Cinders being in the garbage, but also a 3-minute Infernal, right? Madness, just more refunds, higher Madness uptime, higher Eradication uptime, higher 4-piece uptime because more shard refunds, building more into the 4-piece. It's just more and more synergy, sort of along the lines of what we saw with the large Inferno Soul Conduit Reign of Chaos build in Mythic Plus and heavy AoE. But Madness overtakes Embers here because Soul Conduit fuels this extra Chaos Bolt cast, which is really impressive. So these are all Night Phase sims. Once again, everyone's playing Eradication, everyone is playing Reign of Chaos. Now, interestingly enough, I woke up this morning and there had been some work. I'll pull up the actual sims here, comparing both of them. Madness, Embers, Soul Conduit ahead of Dark Soul. So basically the highest Dark Soul build is Embers, and it's still about 550 DPS behind the highest Soul Conduit build, and about 350 behind the second highest Soul Conduit build here. So SC Soul Conduit gaining a lot of value. Now, interestingly enough, I woke up this morning and there had been some Kyrian updates as far as Scattering Tithe and their legendary is concerned, because their legendary, the Covenant one, was updated in 9.1 to essentially give you like a 15% crit buff every time Scouring Tithe expired and was refreshed on your target. Kyrian pulled ahead of Night Fae in the sims a tiny bit. We'll get to that in a second here. By about 150 DPS. But there was no Necrolord sims to be found. So when I woke up, I asked, where had there been a Necrolord sims run? I got an answer of no, not really. So here are all those sims. Keep in mind, once again, 16,144 essentially, right around there, for Madness, Soul Conduit, Eradication, Random Chaos playing Night Fae. Here's the Necrolord sims. 16,546. The Kyrian sim, once again, being here, about 121 DPS ahead of the Night Fae sim. The ones not tagged with a Covenant, like just Madness here, are Night Fae. So like Night Fae, Night Fae, Night Fae, and Night Fae, these four. But Necrolord is here. I threw in one Kyrian sim, because this is their highest performing one with Madness. But Necrolord, 16,586. A pretty substantial DPS gain from 15,582 or 15,297. Tier 28 Destruction, Madness, Necrolord. Once again, playing the spicy build right here of Eradication, Cataclysm, Reign of Chaos, and Soul Conduit, with Unity here and the Grimmailed Hood playing Madness Magic here. And interestingly enough, so this is also 3-minute Infernal, once again, which is interesting, right? Because you're not playing Dark Soul, so the only real cooldown you have is a Trinket and your Infernal, and maybe a Soul Rot if you're playing it, or a Decimating Bolt if you're playing, Necrolord. And looking at the average damage profile here, you peak at what, 36k roughly in the opener here, and here's 3-minute Infernal again at 32k give or take, and you're sitting somewhere around, I don't know, maybe like 11k, I would say roughly, over the course of this, like minor peaks here in a Decimating Bolt window. I would assume Decimating Bolts along here for the Kevin's Oozling Damage amp. Now, if you pull up the actual Wilfred sim here, let's see, where's that one at? Let's see, there's so many random sims here. Wilfred's Necrolord, right? So there's more of these peaks, right? And you peak at 31k in the opener roughly, not as high as Madness because you're not chaining bolts and bolts and bolts, right? You're sitting a bit lower here at about 9k outside of your Infernals, but you have like this 2-minute Infernal peak right about here at like 120-ish. Here's your second Infernal. Roughly run here. Here's like your other Infernal, and towards the end here, this, I don't know what this is, honestly. It could be some other damage-based event, right? Maybe an Infernal again, I don't know. But you're sitting at a lower DPS average outside of your Infernal. Look at the peaks and valleys here. Peak, valley, peak, valley. Look at the Madness one. There's some, but it's an average, just overall higher DPS, because like your Madness uptime and these bolts you're chaining just gives you a higher overall average DPS. So it feels awkward having just one real big cooldown in your Infernal every 3 minutes, but at the same time, this build puts out a lot of relevant damage. Now, interestingly enough here as well, if we end up actually running a 2-target sim on this, we can go back here and run 2 targets. You might be thinking, okay, well, Necrolord is, theoretically ahead by a decent bit. It should, theoretically, once again, stay ahead by a pretty decent amount, because Necrolord, Decimating Bolt, Havoc Cleave, 2 target cleave and things like that. And even if, okay, maybe Kyrian pulls ahead because Kyrian having Scouring Tithes and the crit-based effect in 2 targets, but that's not actually the case. So, because Decaying Soul Satchel and Night Fae and things like that, the highest performing sim, T28 Destruction, Madness. Once again, no Covenant legendary here, or no Covenant tag here. This is Night Fae. T28 Destruction, I can pull it up here, Madness, and it's ahead, I believe, by about 800-ish DPS, I'm pretty sure. Right here, yeah, Night Fae. Here's your Soul Rat, Fairy Dust, all this stuff here, right? Once again, playing Madness, ahead by about 838 DPS. So that Decaying Soul Satchel scaling with the Haste amp, the crit amp, makes for some really, really just strong, impressive damage. And for what it's worth, there is a decent Wilfred sim here, 2-minute Infernal and things like that. I'm a bit surprised this is actually not higher, but it just shows the power of Madness with Soul Conduit and everything heading into this patch. Like, the amount of synergy between, I guess, Soul Conduit and Madness and all these bolts you can cast, and the faster 4-piece, which means more 4-pieces, which means more bolt cast, the eradication uptime, just how synergistic the build actually is. It's pretty impressive. Let's take a brief look at it in-game in a single target setting and just see how it plays out. So we are playing Ruby with this build. I'm playing Madness of Azek here, and I am playing the Night Fae double legendary combo here. Once again, Neck for Lord does sim higher. However, it's hard to find the dummy that's not in execute range at this point on PTR. I'm already Night Fae, and the playstyle rotationally doesn't really change a whole lot if you're playing Neck for Lord versus Night Fae. You're basically casting your Soul Rot, every minute. You're casting Decimating Bolt on cooldown for the most part, and then launching, Chaos Bolts after that. But the big thing here is, depending on if you get good RNG in your opener with Soul Conduit, the Reign of Chaos uptime and the amount of just procs and things you can chain is actually pretty wild. Now, this is the first time I'm recording this. Let's hope we actually get lucky and get some decent procs in our opener. Open up here, give me a Conflagrate, Ruby, put this thing down, Soul Rot, pop this, and we more or less go. There's first bolt, there's a decent refund, bolt here, we can Conflagrate, waiting for a proc, weave in and incinerate here between them, bolt again, we can incinerate again. More procs? Anything? I need to refresh here. There's my actual Infernal proc from 4-piece. There's that. I can weave a cast in here. Launch this. Refund. Launch that. Another bolt. Give me a Conflagrate. Give me a refund. There's another bolt. This opener is actually fine. I burst much higher to almost 20k before in openers with the correct amount of RNG. We didn't get great Reign of Chaos refunds early on, but now we start chaining. We're at 5 shards. I'm capping here for the most part, and it's almost hard to dump these shards fast enough. I'm trying to weave in Conflagrates between them with filler spells and want something between each other bolt, but it's sort of tough. And that's the gist of the opener, more or less. Now, Reign of Chaos has ended here. I'm sitting at about 8 stacks of Impending Ruin, so I can launch an actual Chaos Bolt here, or I can hold it a little bit. So I can, and that's more or less the playstyle of Madness. You want to sort of launch a bolt, cast a filler spell, launch another bolt, and then sort of have that in-between sort of go-to ability, right? So I can cast something here, launch this for Reign of Chaos effect, Conflagrate, and I sort of want to build a few shards between these so I can try and get a Reign of Chaos proc when I actually have the mini Reign of Chaos window with my 4-piece down, right? If it happens, great. If not, it is what it is. But sort of playing around that is I guess the better way to sort of approach the 4-piece and Reign of Chaos. It's still sort of speculative, but for the most part, I think it's pretty much on point. And then for the most part, you weave in Chaos Bolt, filler spell, typically Conflagrate between them if you can, or have one buff by a Conflagrate, one or the other, and just sort of go from there. But the weird part is that your damage sort of does drop off relatively substantially outside your Infernal. Because oh, I'm really not playing a 2-minute build. I really don't have a Dark Soul. I really don't have, I have a Ruby that I can pop right now. And honestly, with my damage being so strong during my Infernal, it's probably better to hold it for the actual Infernal, but it's sort of hard to say, right? So sort of a middle ground to give and take between the two. But when you peak to that 35, 36, 38k opener, or every 3 minutes with your Infernal, the damage is impressive. It takes some getting used to, weaving a bolt, a filler spell, Conflagrate, bolt, filler spell, bolt, vice versa, but there's definitely power there. Now, I'm not saying this is better than Demonology. I think the highest Demo Sim now is 17,100 DPS, but I can say that I've hit this dummy for a little while on stream tonight and things. I can sustain, realistically, at about the same timestamps, anywhere from 1k to, on average, 1 to 1.5k more as Demonology in single target. I don't think this version of Destro is better than Demo in single target, but in 2 target with Madness, this build can be a serious powerhouse. And if you're playing Embers, the overall's not as high, but the actual shard gen, it feels smoother, albeit not a 2-minute Infernal build with Dark Soul and Infernal and this big 2-minute profile with Ruby, but honestly, the sustain you have outside of your Infernal is pretty impressive. It's pretty solid. And hey, in the end, Madness is pretty awesome. I'll take it, not too bad. So I did do one more random test here on this dummy because I sort of forgot to show the actual uptime here. Looking at about an 80% or higher uptime on Eradication in pure single target over the course of about a 4-minute, it was 313, a bit longer than this, about 345, just dummy test iteration, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty wild, that high uptime on Eradication, even though it does feel a little bad not playing Flashover. Look at the Madness of Azek here uptime, 70%. 55% uptime on Reign of Chaos. Blasphemy uptime. This is your 4-piece Infernal. 30% uptime on the Infernal from your actual 4-piece. So you can really see the value here in just having these extra bolts, these Madness bolts, chaining that 4-piece over and over and over. Soul Conduit, giving more refunds. Look at the damage breakdown here too. 46% being Chaos Bolt. I'm not even. I like Destro. I like every spec. That puts a smile on your face. 25.2k max crit from Chaos Bolt. 46.2%. Whether you like Destro or not, that's pretty impressive. This build's definitely fun to play. A bit tedious, a bit more like monotonous than I thought it would be with managing Chaos Bolt and Madness uptime. There's probably a handful of things I can still do better to micromanage that, but once you get it down, this build's a lot of fun and could be pretty real, honestly, heading into 9.2 in Sepulchre. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this video didn't run too long. I was planning on making it like 15-ish minutes, 20-ish maybe, give or take. The build's pretty wild, though. I'm impressed. It's cool to see these things emerging, and honestly, it's really cool to see like the level of optimization that's been found for Destro, Demo, and AF Sims in the past, I guess, week or so in the Lock Discord. It's really cool. Once again, a huge shout out to all of them for all the hard work they put in. It's cool to see. This build's a lot of fun. I will admit that I'm a bit surprised Soul Conduit is performing as well. We have sort of played this build on PTR a little bit, but I really didn't give it the attention I probably should have, just because Destro's single target was not the best, or assumed to not be the best. And once again, comparatively to Demo, it's still behind, I would say, by a decent bit in a little bit in single target. But either way, it's a big step up from where we thought it was, even a few days ago. Now, I would not run out and make Madness and make Embers and things, because once again, keep in mind, Roaring Blaze and Cinders, and even like Wilfred's 2-minute build, is going to be your better option in most scenarios, until you acquire your 4-piece tier set. But if you want to stock up some Cinders from Torghast, well, it might not be a bad idea, but I'm not saying make this today, and on reset you're going to do this damage, because you're not going to. You need your 4-piece, and yeah, but we'll see where it goes. So if you guys have any questions about the video or builds or anything, or comments or whatever, anything I missed, feel free to drop them down below in the comment section. I will be sure to get back to you. While you're down there, also smash the like and sub buttons. It helps out a ton. Any week warriors, profiles, add-ons you've seen here, all indeed available to you guys for free on my Twitch. We'll swing by and grab them anytime. Feel free to do so. And I want to give one massive shout out to my patrons. Thank you a million times, guys, for all support. If you're looking at supporting, there should be a link somewhere up here, as well as down in the video description below. With that being said, thanks again, dudes. Oh, one more time. The guides will be up within hopefully a day max or so from this video going up. My apologies once again. They're awesome this time around. They're very in-depth, I'll put it that way. But myself, me and my editor both got sick in the middle of the guides, so it pushed them back a little bit. My apologies. But yeah, with that being said, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.